And Tom Izzo has been coaching 25 years at Michigan State, never had a losing season, won the thing 20 years ago, most Final Four appearances, 8 since his first year there in the mid-90s. He's had 20 players selected in the NBA draft, 11 in the first round. And I will say, as he joins us via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network, he looks fantastic. And he joked to me during the break, he goes, this is what happened when you get 2 months off. So what are you doing?
God. A lot, Colin. I get to work out a little bit, get to do the honeydew things that all husbands get to do that work a lot of hours and call and Zoom recruits and get a chance to be on your show. So it's been a good 2 months, even though it's been chaotic.
So the Jordan documentary captivated all of us. It was fun. It was history. And I can't say I learned a ton because I covered some of it, but it took me down memory lane and I loved it. As a basketball coaching legend, a Hall of Famer, when you watched it, what did you make of the job Phil Jackson did balancing all the egos and plates?
Well, he did a hell of a lot better job than I could have done dealing with Dennis. I know that. That was an incredible, scene there with some of the things that happened. But there's a reason Phil Jackson is one of the best. I had a chance to work Michael's fantasy camps a few years in Vegas, and I was intrigued by everything too. I thought it was great for TV.
In terms of Michael, you've obviously recruited NBA players. Let's go back because you were a young coach. You were an assistant before a head coach. Do you remember Michael even being recruited?
I came here in 83, 84 as a GA, graduate assistant, and that was, the year, I think it was 83 when Michael hit the shot. So I wasn't really part of his recruitment, meaning I wasn't at this level at the time. I was kind of a Division II guy then, but I would say that, I heard of Michael Jordan, but not to the extent that how he turned out.
It is, in terms of pure talent, what's interesting, Tom, about recruiting is that some of it is just your experience. Draymond Green. So he gets drafted in the second, gets into the right coach, and develops into a nice player. Go back to the first time you spotted Draymond Green. Would you have ever guessed he would become a vital part of the greatest basketball dynasty since Jordan?
Boy, would I like to say yes, because then I'd be a genius. But the answer is no. And I think Draymond deserves a lot of credit for that. When we got Draymond, he was a little bit chunkier. He was a little heavier. He lost a lot of weight, but he had a tremendous basketball IQ back then. He had toughness that you see every day. And those two things, I think, basketball IQ and toughness, has really helped him develop into a unique player, one of the more unique players in the league.
You have always liked size. When I think of Michigan State, I think of defense. You guys have guys that can bang around. You're physical. The game is changing. It's becoming guard, wing, shoot threes. Do you like it? Has it been a challenge for you that it's now such a shooter sport?
It's been challenging, Colin, but it's not anything that I don't think we can handle. It's the fact is now you still need a center in there, but usually your four men are more shooters now, and that's just the way the game is. But as I say in basketball, every center thinks he's a four-man, the four thinks he's a three, the three thinks he's a two thinks he's a one, and the one thinks he's a coach. So everybody's kind of moved up a level.
That is funny. So who has been, players they're all different. If you ever coached a player at Michigan State or beyond that you knew could be a coach, like a player that's IQ was crazy, like Magic Johnson, the first time I watched him in college under Judd Heathcote, and then in the NBA, I'm like, he literally walked into the NBA and said, Kareem, I'll run the team. That's very unique maturity. How many players can you find that have that maturity that early?
God, not many. That's a great question. I think that's what we're all looking for, especially this day and age. Leaders are getting harder to find. Everybody's, staying in their own lane kind of with the texting and tweeting. And, it seems like it's all about me instead of about we. And Magic was a guy that was all about we. Now, I've had a couple. Mateen Cleaves won a championship with him. A kid named Denzel Valentine. Of course, Draymond Green, And I've had a good one last year. kid named Cassius Winston, and all four of them had tremendously high basketball IQs, which I think you need to be a coach, although some people would argue whether mine's that or not.
When I watched the Jordan documentary, I was struck by his parents, and he had these incredibly formidable relationships. His mom was incredible. And do you think that's valuable in the recruiting process? Do you look at, good role models? Does that stuff matter to you in recruiting?
It does matter to you. And, you as a coach, you always feel like you can change anybody. But, boy, those first 18 years, somebody was brought up one way, then you get them for 1, 2, 3, or maybe 4 years at most. And you're not going to necessarily change a lot of people. When I look at Draymond, when I look at Mateen Cleaves, when I look at Denzel Valentine, his dad was a coach. And now Cassius Winston, his dad was a coach. So I look at those guys as being elite leaders. And maybe role models and captains of our team, they all had great families that helped them. Now, that's not always the case, but I think you need somebody in your life that helps keep you on the straight and narrow early so that can continue as we go on.
I think college basketball has huge value. I only know who Zion is because of Duke. Otherwise, I don't fish around the internet all day. I am worried, although I'm happy for players to make money in the G League, I'm concerned that the NBA doesn't get the value of college basketball as a marketing platform. And I also think college basketball coaches at the top are probably better than a young G League coach. Is it frustrating for you that it now feels at times like a bidding war, that what you offer doesn't stack up to pure cash at the G League?
Well, a couple things frustrate me a little bit, and we're in the middle of it now. I mean, look what's going on right now. We got the transfer rule out there. We've got the G League. We've got people talking about kids coming right out of high school. There's a lot of moving parts right now in the basketball game in general. I worry that we devalued education a little bit. I don't think we appreciate maybe not only the academic education, but the social education of college. I think it's very important when a kid comes, if it's 1 or 2 years, but when he's there, he's growing as a person, not just intellectually, but I think socially. I think that's important when there's not a lot of pressure on you. So, who knows where it's all going right now. But me personally, I've seen a lot of great kids, whether they're here 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4, I think it's an advantage for them. And sooner or later, they're going to get to that G League or the NBA. And if they do, it becomes a real business and a real job. And they'll miss college a little bit.
Judd Heathcote had Magic, and he didn't stay in college too long, a couple of years. I know you have a relationship with Magic Johnson. What separates Magic? I mean, he in Los Angeles, he's one of the top business people. I don't know where it comes from. He gets upset if you don't ask his advice. He is a helper. He is a giver. Have you ever met anybody quite like him?
I met Magic the first week I was on campus as a GA. My job, we're in the old field house, and we used to put rims on top of the rims so that people couldn't get in there. You had to unlock them, and that was my job, to unlock them for Irvin to come in. Once he played in the finals, he'd take a couple of weeks off. He was still living in East Lansing, and he'd come back, and his workout schedule in August was unbelievable. The things he did. It's no surprise to me that he's the business guy that he is. In fact, I listen to him all the time too. Last year when we played Duke in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four, Magic came into the pregame mail. He gave the pregame talk. I have no problem admitting that. I didn't even have to pay him for it. It was awesome. And, he's just one of those guys. He's got an effervescent personality. He loves to reach out. He loves to help people. I'm prejudiced because he's our guy, but I'm not sure there's many like Earvin Magic Johnson.
Do you ever watch games on TV, NBA, college, and ever steal things from other coaches? Because Tony Bennett, the great singer, has a funny line. He says, steal from everybody, it's called research. If you steal from one guy, you're a thief. But steal from everybody. So do you look at coaching with a notepad, watch a game, and go, I'm going to take that inbounds play?
All the time. I mean, especially in the NBA, because, if you work a lot of hours, you get home at 9:30, 10:30 at night. I usually turn on, try to catch Draymond or Gary Harris at Denver, some of my guys that are on the West Coast. And I think those NBA coaches, they're doing it 100 times a year. Sometimes they don't get credit because it's more of a players' league, but those guys are brilliant, and their brilliance I steal from all the time. I steal every play, every out of bounds play, but those sideline out of bounds plays they run in the league are really good.
By the way, I have not looked at the preseason. Aren't you a preseason number one?
That was last year we were preseason, or this past year. We were the second team, Colin. I always tell Coach Kell at Kentucky, we went from, rated 1 to unrated. And then at the end of the year, I think we're ready to make a run. Now, next year, some of the preseason polls, we're a top 10, 12 team. And I think, we're looking at the same thing everybody else is looking at. Who will you have by the end of the summer with the draft a little bit different and guys going out early and transfers? Right now, as I said, it's pretty moving part. You got to try to figure out where you're going to be in August, maybe not where you are today.
Good seeing you. You look fantastic. How is the weather? My wife's from Michigan, so it's we're getting close to June. Is it about 65 degrees there?
Hey, I came out and visited you last year in the summer. Remember when we met at the Fox? And, I came to your area. I think it's time you come to our area up here and visit your wife's family, and I'll take you out to the lake, take you golfing. You might have to wear gloves, but other than that, it's a hell of a time.
Good seeing you, Tom. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Colin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.